Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2023-2024 RA info session for the resident assistant selection process. We're so excited to have you here. And if you are here, you probably know that this info session is a required component of your RA application. So make sure you go ahead and watch it all the way through. If you do end up having any questions, you'll see our email at the end of this PowerPoint. And you will also see that we have a frequently asked questions on our website, and we'll also be sharing a couple of Q&A sessions that we'll be doing through the rest of this selection process through October, should you have any questions come up during the application process. But today we're going to focus on the resident assistant position, as well as what our selection process is going to be looking like this year. So to go ahead and get started, my name is Haley Bernard Handel, and I'm the coordinator of selection and leadership here with the Department of Housing and Residence Life.
And my name is Tanner, and I am the graduate coordinator for selection and leadership here.
And we're so excited to have you here and are really looking forward to sharing a little bit about the resident assistant position and hope that you choose to apply.
So we're going to get started with our residence life mission, vision, and educational priority. So starting off with our residence life mission, the mission of the Department of Housing and Residence Life is to provide residents with safe, inclusive housing communities that foster student success through innovative living and learning opportunities. The vision of the Department of Housing and Residence Life will be the premier experience for residents to live, learn, and become tomorrow's global citizens. And our educational priority, as a result of living on campus at UCF, students will become engaged global citizens. These will all tie into your job as a whole.
And another important point that we want to make from the Department of Housing and Residence Life is the department's statement on diversity and inclusiveness. The Department of Housing and Residence Life values the diverse community of the University of Central Florida. We strive to engage students, staff, and campus partners in fostering an experiential learning community that is focused on diversity, inclusion, and social justice education. DHL will achieve this through supporting a culture that encourages the exploration of social identities, articulates the value of inclusive communities, and practices effective cross-cultural engagement. The Department of Housing and Residence Life will continue to uphold our commitment to cultural competence through our residential priority of global citizenship.
So who are resident assistants? This is big because it can be any one of you. It can be international students, it can be students who are out of state, any cultures, identities. It can also be any students of any kind of major. You don't need to have a specific major that relates to the resident assistant position to become a resident assistant and to excel at it. We're going to go ahead and get started with what a resident assistant does. So there are a lot of different things that a resident assistant does, and a lot of things we can put down on paper, but a lot of things are going to be on the go, things that you're learning and how to do and adapting into the position. So first off, we're going to start with creating and maintaining a community environment. So you're going to share resources with your residents. You're going to support your area council, which is students in your community who are doing everything they can to have events for their residents. You're going to help with mediations, roommate agreements. You're going to have different initiatives and committees, and you're also just going to connect with the community as a whole, serving as a role model. Administrative tasks include incident reports, work orders, occupancy checks, welcome ready checks, staff meetings, timesheets, email, and like I said, there are so many different responsibilities, it would not all fit on this page. You're going to serve on an on-duty rotation, so you'll have weekday and weekend responsibilities. So those weekday shifts could be the same, weekday every single week, or it could be an accumulation of a bunch of different weekdays that you've picked prior to the semester that are kind of here and there. Those shifts, the weekday ones, are going to go from 8:45 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the desk in the community office, and then 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. on call in your community. So that on call can look a little scary because that is like 12 hours, but that is from your room, going to sleep, watching TV, working on homework, whatever it may look like. Maybe even you're having conversations with your residents, but you're either holding the on-call phone and or responding to things that your duty partner is like, hey, we've got a lockout, can you go down to the office and assist this resident? serving as that on-call person in your community, so that your residents always have support. And then those weekends, pretty similar, but those are 24-hour shifts. So those are 4:45 p.m. on either Friday or Saturday to 4:45 p.m. the very next day. And you are on call that entire time. You do not sit in office on the weekends. So like we were talking about, that 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. spot, you're in your room doing homework, sleeping. Please sleep during those hours, and just serving as that on-call response that you can respond to incidents, respond to lockouts, let people into the kitchen, etc. And then you're going to implement a residential community. So that is having conversations with your residents, having community meetings with your residents so they're informed on things that are going on, building relationships with them, having those intentional conversations, and then also partnering with campus partners to make sure your residents are feeling at home and are connected to the community. Haley, you're muted.
Thank you. And what better way to know what it actually means to be an RA than to hear it from RAs themselves? So we asked a couple RAs, what does it mean to be an RA and what is your purpose? And these are some of our answers. So the first one is being an RA allows me to expand on my leadership roles and help first-year students have an easier transition into college life. As a first-year college student, having someone to look up to and have as a mentor helps me tremendously with finding resources and getting around campus easier. I'm so glad that I can be a shoulder to lean on for the next generation of kids as well. And then another RA says, to me, being an RA has many meanings. Being able to help residents within my community in multiple avenues, as well as build relationships with my fellow coworkers and pro staff, is one that is unmatched to any other position. I've been able to program for my community and fellow Knights in ways that other departments aren't able to. Connecting with residents and being able to guide them into the right direction as they navigate through UCF is rewarding, as I see them pursue many different organizations and endeavors.
Just a couple more. So this RA stated that the purpose of being an RA is fostering community and being a shoulder for your residents, making yourself available to be listening ear and sharing resources. While guiding your residents to be global citizens, you too are growing in awareness and understanding of the world around us. Additionally, being an RA is more than just being the authority figure on a dorm floor. While being an RA, I have learned that we are, for many residents, the first contact of campus life after moving in. We are here in order to make sure that FTICs, which is first time in college students, have a smooth transition to campus life after being home the majority of their lives. As an RA, we want to make sure that the students are engaging in campus activities as well as being provided the necessary resources to make sure they are comfortable in their new home. In addition to the students, the RA role has impacted me in ways such as building and honing new skills I wouldn't have seen myself utilizing prior to taking this position. My ability to communicate or collaborate on a team or in a group setting has drastically improved, and it wouldn't have been possible had I never decided to become an RA.
All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about time management key, as this is very, very important within the RA role. RAs will be working approximately 15 to 20 hours a week, depending on the week. There's going to be some weeks that, you may attend your half an hour 101, your 2-hour staff meeting, and you serve one night of duty. And that's it. Only a couple hours of actual work for the week. But then you're going to have other weeks during maybe move in or move out, or during maybe a week that you're putting on a program for your community, where you're going to be working that full 20, maybe 30 hours that week to really make sure that you're supporting your community. So that time physically working in your community really fluctuates week by week. And so managing your time appropriately is very important. Duty is staffed 24/7, 365. As Tanner mentioned, though, you'll know about what duty shifts you're going to have way in advance at the beginning of each semester. Now, here and there, you may need to switch your duty or you may need to help cover, but for the most part, you'll know way in advance what days you're actually going to be working your duty shifts and be able to plan around that accordingly. You're going to be working move in and move out. Those are probably the most hour consuming times of the RA position when we are working move in and move out, as it is a full collaborative effort from the whole department. And we do have all of our staff working quite a few hours to make sure that the process for all of our new Knights and their family goes very smoothly. You'll also be having weekly staff meetings and then one-on-ones with your supervisors. The weekly staff meetings, you'll come together with your entire group of staff for your community, all the RAs, your coordinator, if you have a graduate coordinator, talking about what your goals and initiatives are for the next few coming weeks. You'll also be having one-on-ones with your supervisor. Again, that could be either with a graduate coordinator or a coordinator, depending on what community you're in. But those one-on-one times are not only for you to develop as an RA, but they're also for you to develop as a person and professionally. We want to make sure that when our staff members leave the role as an RA, that we've given them a lot more resources and tips and tricks on to moving forward in life. So use that time with your supervisor to talk about classes you're struggling in, talk about if you're struggling with time management or prioritizing, and making a plan with your supervisor to improve that. We also do training multiple times per year. We do week-long training sessions with our staff. We have different training for if it's your first time being an RA or if you've been a returner, so that you can hone your skills and grow kind of on top of the foundation that you learn when you're a first-time RA. So even if you've been an RA for a couple years, you still go to training multiple times per year. We like to make sure that we're always keeping you well-rounded, on your toes, and prepared for anything that's to come. And then finally, interacting with residents. This should happen often. You should know the people who live on your floor, and hopefully if you're watching this, you know who your RA is, and they've been able to make an impact already in your time here at UCF. Time spent away from your community should not be greater than time spent in your community. You're a resident assistant, so part of your job is being there to assist your residents and make sure that they always have someone to be able to go to. That doesn't mean you specifically have to be available 24/7, but you should be spending more time in your community to make sure that it's growing and developing in the way that our department hopes to see it move in the future. You are able to have a second job, but the outside work cannot be any more than 10 additional hours, and that has to be approved by your supervisor ahead of time. If you're already coming in with a job, you can let your supervisor know, but anything that you're thinking of starting after you've received your RA position, you will want to get approval from your supervisor before submitting that application.
Alrighty, next we're going to talk about our housing communities. So we do have quite a few housing communities, and they do range and are very, very different from each other. We have two groupings. There's our academic communities and our annual communities. It's important to note that regardless of where you get placed as an RA, your contract goes from May to May. So while some communities, like our academic year communities, are only open during the academic year, excluding summer term, because we do hold conferences in those communities, and then also close at times like winter break for a couple of weeks, that doesn't mean that you're not responsible for that time as an RA. You are still responsible for different tasks. You could be assigned to different communities at different points in the year. So it's important to note that if you're getting assigned to a community like Apollo or Libra, that doesn't get you out of those responsibilities during the summer and or winter break. That just means that your home community isn't going to be where you have those responsibilities. So your academic year communities are Apollo, Libra, Hercules and Nike, Lake Claire, and Neptune, and your annual communities are Towers at Ninth Plaza, Northview, and the Rosen College Apartments. It's important to note that the Rosen College Apartments are off campus. It's about 30 minutes from main campus, down on I Drive by Universal. It's a campus that serves our hospitality majors, and the hospitality major is solely on that campus. So if you're interested in being an RA for that community, it is important to note that on your application. We love to have our RAs down there, but it is further away from campus. So if you are having classes on campus, it's just something that you have to take into consideration. Those communities like Towers and Northview, those are open year round. So there is going to be a resident in any of those rooms from May to May. So some, residents may be there even longer than you. They live in the same room their entire 4 years, and you may just be starting onto that floor. So moving into like what summer looks like. So as I mentioned, the academic year communities and the annual communities do change. Just because you are assigned to a community for the academic year doesn't necessarily that you'll also be assigned to that community for the summer. We do this thing called a summer preference form, where after getting hired and along with our returning RAs, we have you fill out this summer preference form where you're able to list your intentions for wanting to work in this summer. Like I said, it is a May to May contract, so you are responsible to work in the summer, but we don't need to have all of our RA staff on during the summer because not all of our communities are open. So that's where we have that moving around. Say you have an internship, like a really important family reunion, study abroad, whatever it may look like, that's something that you're listing on that summer preference form to get exemption from. Or maybe that's the opposite, in that you really need this job during the summer. You need somewhere to live, you need that income to continue through school. And so listing that on that preference form on whether you want to be an RA for the summer or whether you don't want to be an RA for the summer. And then we also have summer B, which would be like half of the summer. So maybe you just need a break. You need to go home for some time. You need to, go live with your friends for some time. You need to get away from kind of campus life. Because you do live where you work, it can get pretty overwhelming. So maybe you just need like those 6 weeks off. So working summer B instead of the entire summer C term is also an option.
All right, and next we're going to talk about our living learning communities. Our living learning communities change each year. So this group of 6 living learning communities are what we have for this upcoming year for 2022-2023. So it may look a little different once it's time to hire for our 2023-2024 staff. But we are offering 6 living learning communities next year. It's Excel Compass, Future Educators, Lead Scholars, Nursing at Nike, UCF First, and Healthy Nights. And when you are applying to the RE position, you can put on there the LLCs that you're interested in working, but make sure you really think about the LLCs and why you're interested in actually working specifically for those. A lot of people think, oh, if I select every single LLC, that'll make me look like I want this job more and I'll be more likely to get it. But when we ask you during the interview, oh, why are you interested in Excel Compass LLC? And you didn't really look into them and you don't know much about them, and you start answering, oh, well, I love Microsoft Office and specifically Excel spreadsheets. I think I would be so great to work in Excel Compass because I'm just a huge fan of spreadsheets. We won't really be amused by that because that is not the purpose of the Excel Compass LLC. So it'll just be very clear that you don't really know what else, like which LLCs are which and what their purpose is, and you may not be the best fit for that LLC. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be part of that LLC or the program that ties in with the LLC. For example, if you are a business major, but all of your friends are nursing majors and some live in nursing at Nike, and you really want to be the RA for nursing at Nike, and you explain it of, I've watch them in their year getting into nursing, and I think that it's a very, very cool program, but I really do like my business degree and that's where I'm going to keep going. But during their hardest times when they're working and studying on these exams, I will be more free and can help support them and give them resources and make sure that they have everything they need, and I won't be as stressed during the same times they're super stressed. That's okay too. As long as you've thought about each LLC and really looked into their purpose and why they're on this campus and what community they serve, and you're ready to articulate how you can support that same community, then we're interested in hearing what LLCs you want to be part of. Just make sure to do your research beforehand.
So why apply to the RA position? We're kind of going to go off of each other one by one. I'm going to start off with make a difference in the lives of others. I haven't mentioned this yet, but I actually was previously a resident assistant. I did my undergrad here at UCF. I'm now in my master's program, and I've moved into my new role, but did serve as an RA in the Libra community. And I think that the thing that stood out the most for me was the making the difference in the lives of others. I think that comes with just simple conversations sometimes. As you saw in some of our testimonials, you are often like the person that welcomes many residents onto campus life, onto living outside of like their home for the first time. And you're making that difference just by like showing up. smiling in the hallway, asking someone how they're doing, checking in on them when like someone's going through a big exam period. It really is like a sole purpose of the RA position and something that you get to excel at throughout the role.
Another reason is your skills that you build in the RA position will be applicable to any career field, which also equals a strong resume. I think there's very few positions across the US and across the world that most people know your job description. And the resident assistant position is one of them. It's going to be really hard to find after leaving UCF and applying for jobs. A company that has never heard of a resident assistant doesn't know their basic information about the job. The basic information that you communicate with others. You're a strong leader, you're organized, dedicated to your department. And, I think that will really be able to stick out in interviews, and being able to use your experiences from the RA position to answer interview questions potentially is also a great skill. You're going to learn a lot of things that are applicable to any career field, any focus, anything you want to do moving forward. You'll be able to tie back to the RA position because of the responsibilities of the RA being so vast and multifaceted.
So next is personal and professional development. As Haley just kind of touched on, this is going to be a strong resume builder, and that is because you're going to be growing throughout the role. As we've kind of mentioned and touched on, there are a lot of opportunities for training. We have our week-long training multiple times in the year where you're going to different sessions from different campus partners, different opportunities, you're gaining certifications, you're developing yourself professionally, and you're gaining those transferable skills. Personally, you're also developing those communication skills, those interpersonal skills, the ability to talk with one another, help people through difficult times, and all of that is going to be something that you're working through your entire time as an RA.
All right, and the next one is lifelong connections to your team and residents. I remember back when I was in undergrad and getting to meet those first couple people on my floor through our community meeting that my RA put together. Those people are people I'm still connected with today. So it's really awesome to think about that you as an RA will be able to make lifelong impacts on people's life, either introducing them to people that you hear that, oh, this person on this side of the floor loves this TV show, and so does the person on this other side of the floor. They may not have introduced themselves normally, but you're able to kind of create that connection and potentially create a blossoming friendship. I know lots of RAs who still have group me's and group chats of the floors that they lived on their first year, and they're 10, 15 years, post living in on campus in undergrad. So those lifelong connections with the team, and then specifically creating those connections with your staff. No one will ever know what it's like to be an RA besides other RAs. So having that joint bond together where, you guys have been on duty, you've answered those late night, early morning calls, or you've been through those long hours and move in, and you've gone to those similar training sessions where you've been able to grow and bond together, you'll make connections on your staff as well, and maybe those can become your lifelong friends as well.
Alrighty, and next is stronger connection to the UCF community. So as we've kind of touched on, you're going to be very, very well involved in all of the different resources. So you're getting training on Green Dot training, you're getting training from different majors. All of that is going to make you more involved in the UCF community. It's kind of crazy how much you are learning so much about the different capacities on campus throughout your role as an RA as you continue to offer resources, making you connected in, maybe one of your residents is a major that you aren't super familiar with. And so you're able to get a little bit more involved and knowledgeable on that major. And before you know it, your next year residents are asking about those kind of majors and curious about how they can get involved in different activities, and you're going to have that knowledge for them.
You'll also have mentoring experiences. While an RA, you're a leader on your floor. You're making sure that everyone is able to get to class, know where their class is, knows different resources that UCF provides. You're also going to start serving in a mentor experience probably sooner than you would imagine. When we have first time on campus students and they're just trying to get a handle of what college life is like. They're often looking for someone older with a little bit more experience to guide them, and you can quickly become a mentor to them and create a very close bond. Not only is that just kind of a feel-good moment, but that again ties back into your professional development and being able to help and support other people within your community. And most importantly, oh, this is important too. I thought it was different.
So the next one is going to be teamwork skills. This is something that you are going to build whether you like it or not in this role, because you work in a team no matter what. You either have a small team of 2 or 3 as your duty night, and you have your larger team of 8 to 15 people, maybe even 23 people, who are your fellow RAs in your community. You're working with them honestly on a weekly basis, as you do have staff meetings with your entire team weekly for about 2 hours. You're sharing ideas, you're developing off of each other, and you're learning how to work with others that may be different from you. That's going to be a big thing for any future career. You're going to need to know how to work well with others. Whether your career is something that you can do completely isolated, everything involves another person, whether it's that person that you may need to call on to get additional support, whether it's your supervisor or people that you supervise. There's going to be other people in that role, and you're going to be able to build those teamwork skills throughout this role.
And most importantly, you're gonna have fun. This would not be as competitive of a position as it is, and we wouldn't have RAs staying year after year like we do if this role wasn't fun and people got enjoyment out of it. You will have so much fun in this role with your staff, with your supervisor, doing programs with your floor and in your community. This position is a lot of fun. There's a lot of work, a lot of administrative tasks, a lot of things that you definitely need to remember, different resources. But at the end of the day, we are still having a lot of fun while we do the roles, and we keep it upbeat and lively all the time. And you won't be disappointed if you end up being an RA. All right, so next steps for the RA application and interview days. So the RA position requirements, it includes GPA, credit hours, student conduct, and a background check. So for your GPA, you must meet the required 2.5 overall cumulative GPA, and you must maintain this GPA for the entirety of your employment. We do see the RA position as both an employee and a leadership role, so it's important that you're performing in the classroom as well, and that the RA position isn't becoming too overwhelming to where your grades are slipping. So we do put a big priority on your grades. It's also required that you have 24 completed credit hours by the time you start your RA position. This does not mean you need 24 completed credit hours by the time you apply. It just means 24 by the time you start. So for this position, we're mainly hiring for May 2023 to May 2024. So you would need 24 completed credit hours by the time we hit May 2023. Not all 24 of those credits need to come from UCF. Only 12 need to be from UCF. You can do 12 either in dual enrollment while in high school, if you went to a community college first, anything like that. You can have credits that come into UCF to add to those 24, but 12 of those credit hours must be completed here at UCF. We like to just make sure that our RAs have a little bit of an understanding of campus, UCF, so that they know some of the resources that they can be sharing with their residents. Another requirement is you must have a clear student conduct record and currently be in good standing in conduct with the university. This isn't something that you have to show proof of or anything. I end up seeing it on the back end on our side, working with our partners here at UCF. But if you have any questions or concerns about your conduct, you want to know if you're considered in good standing, or there's special circumstances where you want to talk about something, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. As I mentioned in the beginning, we'll show a PowerPoint at the end that has our email, and we're happy to discuss what your conduct looks like and if you're in good standing with the university. And then finally, a background check. This is necessary for all staff that we hire at UCF, student staff or full-time employees. Everyone must go through a background check. You will need a social security card or and or government ID. This does not mean we don't hire international students. There's a separate process to make sure that this works out. You just work with the global department to make sure that you can get the required documentation to be able to do a background check. And if you have questions on that, I'm more than happy to answer those as well.
All right, so now how do you apply? So the RA application is now open. It opens July 1st and closes October 1st, 2022. You're going to apply at ucf.ereslife.com. On this website, you're going to be able to use your application, add to your application up until the day you click submit. So it will save all of your responses. You're going to view this information session. So good job, step number 1 done. And you will answer some related questions on your application form from this information session so that we know that you're watching it. Your online application consists of 2 references. We do have a preference that one is a UCF affiliated person. That may be your resident assistant, that may be your community's coordinator or graduate coordinator. That could be a professor that you really had a good connection with this last couple of months. Really anyone on the UCF campus, but we do also understand that you may not have that connection yet. A lot of our applicants are first-time in college students who may have only been on campus for like a couple weeks now. And the last thing we want is for you to feel forced into putting someone who's in the UCF community on your application who may not know you as well as someone you were like super involved in high school. Our only requirement is that neither of them are a family member, as that does kind of like completely remove one of your references from your applications. The reference forms are due the day after the application. We do say that your references aren't going to be able to get their reference forms until you submit your application, which means if you are waiting until October 1st to submit your application, your reference is only going to have October 2nd to submit their reference. That's why we recommend submitting as soon as you're done with your application. Give them all the time that they have, especially if these are, people who are, teaching classes, have full-time jobs. Many of them are. Your RAs are also really involved. They're students, all of that kind of stuff. And they're going to need that extra time. But we do have that extra day looped in so that they do have at least that set 24 hours. The application questions consist of personality questions, 5 short answer questions, and job preferences. So those personality questions are going to be kind of like, do you prefer work then play or play then work? And those questions are not going to stop you from getting the job at any point. Those are more so that when you are getting assigned to a community and assigned to a staff, you are better to fit into that staff for our community needs. Those 5 short answer questions will be graded, and those are the "Are you going to get hired as an RA?" questions. And then the job preferences are going to be things like your community preference, your start date preference. We will have a start date of our spring hires and our summer hires. Those do change because we do hire a few spring hires. That being said, you may not be ready to be an RA just in your 2nd semester. Only click that preference if you are willing, ready, and able to start as an RA as early as January. Those are very, very few spots that we have open. I think that it ranges from maybe like a handful to like 10 max spots. So we do not hire a whole lot of people for those spring hire positions. So don't ever feel discouraged if you're not getting one of those spring hire positions. And then other job preferences like community preference and whether you're willing to work at our Rosen College apartments. We do have that additional question for Rosen College apartments because it is an off-campus apartment, and we want to make sure you are very aware that that isn't on main campus. You can, as I said, edit your application until you are finished and ready to submit. Your references will not be notified until after you completely finalize and submit your application, so do it as early as you can.
And we did include the information for UCF Career Center up in the corner here. We highly encourage you to email your application to them, go into their office so that they can review the application, help you with your interview and preparing for your interview, which we're going to talk about next. But definitely use your resources on campus, one of which being the Career Center here. All right, so for your interviews will be conducted in person, both on main campus and at the Rosen College apartments. You will be invited to interviews by Monday, October 24th, 2022, and you will have until October 7th, that's a Thursday, to schedule when your interview will take place. So it'll be through the online platform on ucf.ureslife.com for you to sign up for your interview, but make sure to do it by that deadline so that we can prepare for you to be joining us on the interview days. Interviews will be on main campus from Tuesday, November 1st through Thursday, November 3rd, and then will be held at the Rosen College Apartments on Friday, November 4th. Interviews will be held between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Alrighty, and then some interview tips. So you're going to be asked a lot of situational questions. So that is, tell us about a time when, you displayed leadership, you had to make a difficult decision, and how you did that, how you have, developed some problem-solving skills. All of these are going to require you to share a little anecdote about a time. It's okay if you don't necessarily have a direct experience to that, but make sure you're sharing something. The response to tell us about a time when you displayed leadership shouldn't be, I haven't really displayed leadership. It should be, while I haven't had an opportunity to display leadership, this is what I would do in this case. It's important to note that a lot of our questions are going to be multifaceted, so they are going to have multiple questions, and you are going to be scored for each component of them. So make sure you're answering the entire question and getting all of your points. Practice the STAR response, which is situation, task, action, and result. So situation, use context and background, what challenges you faced, how you faced them, explain what you did, and then state the benefits from your actions.
All right, now we're going to be going over the selection timeline. So if at any point you were going to take a screenshot or be taking notes, now's the time, because around the selection deadlines each year, we are flooded in our emails with questions of, when is this deadline? When do I have until this? When am I going to hear about this? Have you sent out offer letters yet? And the more emails that we have to take time to respond to, the more time it takes us to actually send out those offers or post the interview times and things like that. So it's very important that you're paying attention at this point and making sure to remember these dates. Add them to your calendar ahead of time, take a picture of it, make your lock screen, whatever it is that you need to do to help remember these dates, I highly suggest doing so. So for the very few positions that Tanner mentioned that we hire to fill spring vacancies, you will receive your offer letter on November 29th of 2022. You will have until December 1st to accept the offer. And then our HR process will go from November 30th through December 8th. That means you have to fill out all the paperwork, meet with our HR team, and and have your background check submitted all before December 8th, which is also taking place during finals. So you want to do that as soon as you get the offer to get that out of the way so you can focus on your academics. For the vast majority of the positions that we offer for the summer start date, candidates will receive a waiting area update. You maybe ask yourself, what is a candidate waiting area? It is very similar to the lobby at a doctor's office. You have scheduled an appointment, you have arrived on time, everything is good to go. You're going to have the appointment, you're going to see the doctor, but you're still going to sit in the waiting room and wait until they're ready. So the candidate waiting area is the exact same. You have completed your application, you have attended your interview, you've checked kind of all preliminary things, our conduct check, our GPA check, everything seems good. So you're going to sit and wait for just a little bit until we do our RE selection for the next year. So you'll get an update to let you know if you're in the candidate waiting area or not by December 8th. Summer offer letters will be sent out on February 13th of 2022, day before Valentine's Day. So just prepare to be super excited and receive your offer letter. But don't be so excited that you forget to accept, because you definitely need to accept by the deadline to make sure that you can get that position and move forward. Our HR process for the summer start date is going to go from February 20th to March 17th of 2023, and summer training will take place from May 8th to May 12th, 2023. Now this next slide is the exact same information in just a little bit of a different format in case you didn't understand it one way or another, or you like it better one way or another. So as I mentioned, for the spring hires, you will receive your hire notification on November 29th. You will have until December 1st to accept or decline on ereslife.com. You will complete our extensive hire process and background check by December 8th by 5 p.m. If you are not hired at all and you're being removed from our process, you will be notified by December 8th. You will also be notified on December 8th if you're being moved to the candidate waiting area process, which is like the doctor's office lobby that I mentioned. For the vast majority of our hires who are going through the summer hire process, you will be contacted on February 13th that you received the position. You'll have until February 15th to accept or decline the position. And then you'll complete the extensive HR process background between February 17th and March 17th. If you are not hired from at this point, you will also be notified on February 13th. And finally, we do have a very robust alternate pool every single year. You will be offered an alternate pool spot on February 13th as well. So you will for sure be getting an email by December 8th and on February 13th if you're moving forward in our process in any way. So just make sure you're looking out for that email specifically on those dates. Our alternate pool we continuously pull from March of 2023 to November of 2023. We're still pulling people from our alternate pool for this year in this selection process now. And so make sure to keep that in mind when you're taking apartment leases off campus. We are able to cancel leases for Night Circle and The Point. So if you end up signing with them, you don't have to worry and we'll take care of it. Anything outside of that, we're not really able to help much with. So if you're in the alternate pool and you still really, really want to be an RA, a lot of RAs are no longer eligible because they're not able to break their lease. So keep that in mind when choosing where to live next year if you want to continue to have the chance to be an RA.
Alrighty. And then if you have any questions, unfortunately, we won't be able to exactly answer them right now unless you email us at reslifeselection@ucf.edu. But we will have a lot of opportunities for you to come in person and online to ask those questions. So these are optional compared to our this information session, which clearly you've already come to. So you're all set there. They will be streamed live on our Facebook, our housing Facebook page, and then will also be held in person. So we were going to have a couple that are going to be hosted by us, Haley and I, hosted by our selection committee, July 21st. That will be streamed on Facebook, Housing Facebook's live. On September 15th, we're going to have an in-person one in the Neptune community from 4 to 5 p.m. That'll be in Neptune and the multi-purpose room. On September 27th, we're going to have another in-person one. This one's going to be from 6 to 7 p.m. and that'll be at the Student Union. The room will be updated soon. And then we'll have a few that are actually hosted by current RAs who are maybe able to answer those questions that we may not be able to answer, or just maybe you may feel more comfortable asking an RA those questions. So September 21st, we'll have one streamed live from 5 to 6 p.m. and one on October 27th also streamed live from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So the application's open and we look forward to seeing it at ucf.ereslife.com.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And again, please let us know if you have any questions.